Welcome to our HX webinar today. This is our Greenland fireside chat, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to the Master of Ceremonies today, Alex McNeil, who will introduce you to our other esteemed guests. So, Alex, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Lee, and it's fantastic to have everyone here. My name is Alex, and I'm the Chief Expedition Officer at HX. I've been in the industry almost 20 years. I've been honored to complete almost 200 expeditions, including 14 to the geographic North Pole. But my worst kept secret is that my favorite place that I've ever been, a destination that's really captured my heart, I used to say it was often the last place I'd been, and the first place I wanted to go back to was Greenland. And it's front of mind in a lot of ways recently. It's getting a lot of attention in the media, and I think it's fantastic in certain ways that this incredible destination is being brought to life. And there's no one better to tell that story than people who are from Greenland, people who have lived in Greenland, people who know and speak the language. And it's my great pleasure to welcome today a fantastic panel of experts to join this fireside chat. Starting with Lali Berthelsen, who's our product manager for Greenland. She lives in Nuuk. She grew up in Nuuk, which is the capital of Greenland. Fantastic wealth of information, and as you'll hear, just super enthusiastic about everything that's going on at HX, and it is an amazing ambassador for our company and the destination itself. We're also joined by Aleqatsiaq Peary, who is the great-great-grandson of the famed American explorer Robert Peary. But that's only the beginning of his story, because he lives in and is actually calling in live from Qaanaaq, northwest Greenland, where the sun has yet to rise over the horizon. It's midwinter there, and he's an incredible hunter, musician, guide, storyteller, and recently film star. And so it's fantastic to have Aleqatsiaq on the call as well to bring his story from his corner of Greenland to life. And finally, we've got Loritz, who you heard from earlier, originally from Germany, but I think similar to me as a non-Greenlandic person, has very much immersed himself in the destination, having lived in Greenland over many years, speaks the Greenlandic language. He comes from an academic background with a focus on geology and glaciology, and it's just a great pleasure to have him on the call as well. But why don't I pass over for a few words from our presenters themselves. Lali, over to you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Lali, and I'm born and raised in Nuuk, the capital. I've been studying service economy with tourism as my specialty, and I've been working with tourism since 2008, mostly in the summertime in Greenland. That's the high season, and then abroad during the low season. And I am also a personal trainer and nutritionist, and do a lot of different health courses on the side. Yeah, that's me. And last year I was hired by HX, so I've been here a bit more than a year, and I love every minute of it.
Awesome. I think I'm constantly impressed with how many different initiatives you're involved with, Lali. I'm always seeing if you're interested, follow Lali on social media. That'll give you a real insight into life in Greenland. But thanks for that, Lali. Let's pass over to Aleqatsiaq live from Northwest Greenland. I'll pass the microphone to you.
Hello, everybody. You can call me Alec, since my name is a little bit long and difficult. So I was born in Qaanaaq, and I grew up in Qaanaaq and in Nuuk. And after education, I came back to Qaanaaq to stay here. So I was not raised as a hunter, but became a hunter, and I have been following the hunters since 2006 and living with the hunters. And it was a great honor to learn from them and get to know who I was during hunting and spending time with great hunters.
Great.
Thank you.
I also didn't mention we're extremely pleased that we'll be welcoming Aleqatsiaq as well as other ambassadors from communities around Greenland on board our flagship MS Fridtjof Nansen this summer. So all of our voyages to West Greenland on board Nansen will be featuring Aleqatsiaq to bring his stories to life for anyone who's traveling with us on those trips. And finally, Lawrence, a few words from yourself.
Yes, so I'm German, as you might have heard earlier, but I had the great opportunity to move to Greenland as a 15-year-old and to be sort of taken care of by a Greenlandic family, and that's where my love to Greenland originates, which actually follows me every day along, and is the main reason why I started studying geology, to bring some of that love back to the people. Well, the country itself is massive and hosts a lot of treasures, and two of those treasures are here with us today, Aleqatsiaq and Lali, but it also has some natural wonders to discover, which were the main reason why I then started studying geology. But I ended up not only being involved in geology, but also in tourism, which is why I'm here now with HX again, after just been in the industry for 10 years, always besides studying, which was the best job you could ever imagine having as a student.
Awesome. Thanks, Lawrence. So because we have such a fantastic panel here, I thought we could talk a little bit about some of the things that have been going on in your lives and around Greenland today, some relevant insights, especially from Aleqatsiaq all the way up north there in Qaanaaq, and from Lali, who's living and doing her job from Nuuk. She's actually in London today for some special meetings. We're hosting some events here in London. But Lali, what have you been up to in recent months, and what's been going on in your world?
I, as I said, have some health courses and health ambassador courses on the side. I do some personal development courses as well. So I've been traveling along the coast in Greenland, where I'm hired by the municipalities to do some health days for some different groups. And I really enjoy this because I see a huge difference. A lot of the ones that I'm handling or doing the courses for are the youth that maybe don't know what to do, and they don't go to school or have an education. They take one day at a time. Maybe they come from an abusing family, or just have a hard time. So I help them to focus on themselves and listen to themselves, do some meditation and mindfulness, and do some exercises and nutrition supervising. So I'm with them for a week, sometimes two, and then I see a huge difference, and they get so motivated, and it gives me so much to do these courses, and I'm really pleased that I'm allowed to do these on the side once in a while. And I enjoyed to see the changes. And I have a son who's 3, and I'm doing some kids play once in a while with them, which also give me the opportunity to make sure that my kid is doing some physical activities while he's at the daycare.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It helps illuminate how many different transformations are going on simultaneously in Greenland. There's always a big focus on youth and youth empowerment, which you're a massive leader on. But another transformation is around tourism, and you're kind of at the forefront of those changes as well. And all 4 of us happened to be together. Aleqatsiaq was also in Nuuk just some time ago. It was actually on my birthday, November 28th, when Lawrence and I and our CEO, Gebhard, flew in from Copenhagen on the first flight to the newly refurbished Nuuk airport. Tell us a little bit about that change and what it means for Greenland.
So that day has been a huge day for everyone in Greenland. We've been looking so much forward to this, and it was a big celebration day when that day finally arrived. And I was so lucky that I could be part of these VIPs who were on the runway when the flight landed, and I could welcome my colleagues from the runway and had this really close experience when the flight touched down. It gives us a huge opportunity now because it gives us a direct flight from the capital. And when I was flying from Nuuk to Copenhagen, it was really amazing to experience. Normally we would go really early in the morning to go to a place called Aleqatsiaq and then wait for some hours and then proceed from there. Now the world is actually opened up and we're getting closer to the world, and the guest abroad will be easier for them to come to Nuuk and don't need to do any connecting flights. And it gives our guest the opportunity to land directly, and we're going to do the turnaround from Nuuk instead of doing it from Reykjavik. And this will save us 4 sea days in total, which is amazing.
Yeah. And super exciting. It was just, I think, last week or the week before, we announced not only were we the first company to commit to Nuuk and start a partnership with Air Greenland, which we're really excited about, but also we were the first company to take advantage of a new air link between Newark Airport, just outside of New York, and Nuuk. So people who are interested in experiencing Greenland from North America can take a 4-hour flight, and you're in Nuuk, jumping on one of our voyages, potentially with Aleqatsiaq and other incredible storytellers that'll be in our team. But Lally, one more topic on this theme for you is I think you're probably one of the most visited team members in our destinations. I don't know how many executives have come to say hello, but this is our CEO, Gebhard, who was on the first flight to Greenland. What was it like having him there? And I think that's the second time you've met him in just a few months.
Yeah, it was really nice. The first time was when Gebhard was getting on board of Nansen on a Greenland voyage. So, and the second time was when you landed the 28th of November, Alex's birthday. So this was really, really nice. And it gives us opportunity to be closer and have a close relationship with our colleagues. And because it's so easy now to get to Nuuk, it gives us more options or opportunities to fly in and out.
Yeah, and that was such a great celebration. And I mean, that time of year, because I was there with Gebhard, I wasn't in this picture, but I noticed that it was already it was end of November, and there was already a Christmas spirit in the air, and this occasion of the plane landing and everyone celebrating this, I guess, led into those festivities. I saw this picture online, and it just captivated my mind how many fireworks were going off. I don't know if this is Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, but what are the holiday period like in Greenland?
Yeah, so we also had a lot of fireworks at the gala dinner when the international airport opened, and we are using fireworks more than just the New Year's. We also use them when there's weddings, first day of school. That's normally in the summer and it's really bright. You don't see them, but you can hear them. And also I know that in East Greenland, which is really remote from anything else, they get the cargo ship twice a year. After 8 months long winter season, when the first cargo ships comes, the school will close, everyone will run down to the harbor, and they will have massive firework. And yeah, this is a picture from a new year, and we are having firework twice, because at 9 o'clock, when Denmark is having it's midnight in Denmark, because we're part of Denmark, we will have fireworks at 9 o'clock, and then again at midnight. when we're having the New Year in Greenland.
Nice. That's a good excuse for those of us who like to go to bed early to say we're celebrating on Danish time, and then after 9 p.m. check in for the night. But yeah, I think per capita, Greenland, especially those who live in Nuuk, probably consume more fireworks than most other countries. Oh, that's fantastic. Let's Aleqatsiaq, just to bring you in. You're up there in Northwest Greenland. What's life been like in recent months? I can see the sun starting to rise behind you there, but tell us a bit about what's been going on in Qaanaaq.
The hunters have been fishing. They started fishing quite late because of the changes of the climate, and we'll be fishing during the winter till the ice is gone, and the light is coming, so the children would play outside much more from now on, since it has been dark. So the children has been mostly being inside the houses watching movies or YouTube. So the sun will be up on the 17th February, and mostly the hunters have started hunting and fishing since the ice sets. It must be about the late December, the beginning of January. So it has become quite late when we start hunting and fishing on the ice. So we are getting the light back, so we are happy for that also.
Yeah, I think you sent me these pictures by WhatsApp. Was it last week? So these are very recent view. What's the temperature there these days?
Right now it's not that cold. It's about 15 to 20 minus Celsius, and it has been up to minus 30 or 40, almost 40, when I took these pictures about last week. So it's right now it's quite warm. No, it's only minus 15 to 20.
Wow. And I think another thing these pictures contrast is the difference between winter and summer. I mean, the only times I've been to Qaanaaq, I've been in summer when our ships visit, and the energy must be very different. I mean, people must be so excited and active compared to what you were describing in the darker months.
Yeah, the hunters is always active. So being a hunter is you don't notice the dark too much. But when you are in town, of course, you can notice the dark. And when the sun comes up, everybody goes out. Even the children stays out longer in the summer when they have vacation from school, getting ready for the winter, for the dark time. So we need to stay out and play when the sun is always up in the summer.
Yeah. And I think, of the 3 of the 5 voyages that you'll be on next summer, those will be actually visiting Qaanaaq, and it would be amazing. I've never been actually on a ship visiting Qaanaaq with someone from Qaanaaq, and I can just imagine, the energy of your homecoming, with your friends and family, and I think it's just going to be such a wonderful experience for the guests to share with you, in this community of what's the population of Qaanaaq today, Aleqatsiaq?
It is always about 650 or 600. It's between 600 and 700 people.
Yeah, so not difficult to know everyone and have everyone know you. But thanks for sharing that. Oh, finally to you, Lauritz. You've been having some adventures in recent months in South Greenland, and in summer and towards the end of summer. You were also in Nuuk. I know you've been back and forth. You probably have more frequent flyer miles with Air Greenland than most people, but what have you been up to?
So just last summer, right after graduating from ETH in Zurich, I was fortunate enough to work a bit for a mining company, or a proposed mining company in South Greenland. That is one of the reasons why Greenland is also becoming more and more popular. And those are the natural resources that the fascinating landscapes are bearing. And so doing that adventure, I was sampling rocks, and you might imagine that I was taking them out of the country, but no, they all have to stay, and they're being analyzed because it's, well, Greenland is host to the largest rare earth element deposit in the heavy section of the rare earth elements in the world, outside of the ones that are claimed by China. And so it's actually a really, well, interesting place because we need rare earth elements for our daily lives. Without rare earth elements, we wouldn't be talking to each other right now, and you probably wouldn't be using your car or your smartphone, and they all need to get out of the ground. And Greenland has one of those big projects. They, though, often come with another mineral that we don't really want, and that is uranium. Although here in that project is fortunate enough, it's a very small-scaled area where there's no uranium present. And so I was allowed to sample, to analyze some of the samples and crush them as well. And you probably have heard more about resources in Greenland, and Greenland is absolutely fascinating. It's a geologist's dream. I've been hiking all over the country and seen rubies and diamonds lying around on the ground, but the real gem of Greenland, I think, after all those years in Greenland, are the people, and is the culture.
Yeah, and talking about people, Lawrence, I know, because we've worked together for many years, that you're also fascinated with a historical geologist, the famous German Alfred Wegener, who's namesake of the Wegener Institute. He worked a little bit further north than you were working here, but you've been very close to him. What's inspired you about his story?
So, well, as a German, well, you hear about Alfred Wegener. As you just mentioned, I mean, he is the name giver of our Polar Research Institution, and always sort of a role model, although I don't want to end like him on the Greenland ice sheet. But he has actually, doing all of his expeditions up in Greenland, been working closely together with the locals, and have always acknowledged that his expeditions wouldn't have been successful without the help of the locals, without the local knowledge. So I recently came across a photographic collection, a series that has been lost and perished right after his death in the 1930s. And so, yeah, that photographic collection sort of lives right now with me, but we are hoping to make it available for the broad public and bringing those stories that he shared with the locals as well. Yeah, with a broader audience.
Nice one. Super interesting. Now, there's a lot of things about Greenland that people don't know, that aren't often featured in the media, or aren't often even easy to read in textbooks or books about Greenland. But we've got this great luxury of having such a knowledgeable panel here. So I thought I'd pass over to you, Lally, and you could walk us through the insider's guide to Greenland. What's life really like there, and maybe share a little bit about the country that most people wouldn't know.
Yeah. So first of all, Greenland is huge, and 80% of the country is covered by ice. So we are only living in the coast of the country. There are no roads connecting the towns. So you either have to go by boat or by flight. And that's how we come around. In South Greenland, it is really, really green in the summertime. There are farmers there. And this is where the man who named the country, Eric the Red, he came to Greenland, South Greenland, while it was summer. So that's where the name Greenland comes from. And a lot of people would expect to see polar bears. We have them in the East Coast and far north. So sometimes they also come down by the tip of the south because they come on the ice when it's the pack ice is breaking up. They can float all the way down with the stream to the south part of Greenland. But normally, most of the west coast, the towns, we don't see the polar bears. The hikers, they would, if there's any hikers, they would prefer to go to the east part of Greenland because you see, or the south, you see these huge, dramatic, beautiful mountains, while it's more not flat, but it's not as tall mountains we have in most of the west coast.
I think it's funny to say that because most people who go anywhere in Greenland would be impressed by the mountains.
Yeah, but they're even taller and more dramatic looking in the East Coast. So culture-wise, it depends on where you come. We do still have a lot of culture, and of course, everywhere you visit, you will see some culture, but you will also see some more modern towns. Like if you visit Nuuk, the capital, you will see and experience it is like a big city lifestyle, even though we're the capital with only 19,000 people, and out of 56,000, we are still living like it's the administration town. So people are busy working, go to the supermarket, go home and cook, and then that's it. It's really busy, a lot of cars. And then when you go to a smaller village or a small town, it will be more calm, and they take it as it comes. If the weather is bad, they don't go out hunting, they stay home and then go out once the weather is allowing it. So they would maybe, or mostly, eat what they catch and then supply it with some supermarket food. While we're in Nuuk, most of us will eat mostly from the supermarket and add once or twice a week, maybe with something we catch. Of course, it's different from family to another, but if we're take a look at like the bigger picture, this is how it will be with the smaller villages. It's mostly what they catch: fish and reindeer and seals, muskox. And the transportation is different as well. So if you take a look at the map and there's a line, the polar circle, this is the border for the dogs in Greenland, because south of the border, south of the circle, is what we have, what we call Danish dogs, because most of us will have dogs from Denmark or Europe, while north of the Arctic Circle, it will be dog sled dogs, as you see on the picture. And to keep the pure clean, we don't mix those two, the Greenlandic race with other dogs. So you're not allowed to bring the southern dogs to the north part of the circle and the other way around. So once the Greenlandic dog have crossed the border, it's not allowed to go back. We're using these for transportation as well during the winter. Above the Arctic Circle is where the sea ice freeze. During this global warming, the line is getting higher and higher up, but we're still using dog sledding dogs to transportate, both for fishermen, but also tourism is with dog sledding. And then you see we use the snowmobile everywhere in Greenland in the wintertime. And then if the sea doesn't freeze, we use them in the backcountry. And we are using helicopters for the smaller villages to come around instead of boat or ship. During the summertime, we use the boats and the ships. And when you take a look at the fishermen, they will have an open boat, which they use for fishing, but also to transportate their friends and families to visit the closest town, or maybe to visit someone further down south or north. And of course, you can come around with our ships as well. This is what the good thing is by traveling with cruise or our ships, expedition ships, is that you get to see so many different areas of Greenland. You get to see the small places, the bigger towns, and also have nature landings and get to see the wildlife as well. So we go further in than other normal cruises because we're expedition ships. We are not big, huge ones with thousands of passengers. So you get to see many places that others don't go to. The sea is our highway. As I told you, we don't have any roads connecting any other town. So the majority of Greenlanders, they will prioritize a boat than a car. And then once you have the boat, you might get a car. Next slide, please. Yeah. So the fishing industry is the biggest market in Greenland. The second, which is growing really fast now, is tourism. I've had a lot of people contacting me to say they say that they want to see the dying icebergs because of the global warming. And I think this is, of course, it's true, the global warming is there, but we still have lots of ice. So if you want to see them, you can get on board of one of our ships, and the icebergs are still there. We have plenty. What is special about Greenland, as Laurits also said, is we have really strong culture. It's really special, and it goes 4,500 years back with the history. This picture is me with my national clothing, and this is what we wear for the celebration days, first day of school, marriages, when you graduate, and also when you get baptized. So my first national suit was when I was being baptized, half a year old. So you can imagine how small it is. It's on a doll right now, back at my mom's house. And back in the days, you'll be able to see which status your family had, because you need to be a great hunter to be able to swap sealskin or meat or whale fat to get these beads that this part is made of. So the top part. And if the hunter in the family wasn't as good, you couldn't get that many beads. So maybe it will be short. And if the hunter was good, you could have a long one. So this is how you'll be able to tell. Nowadays, all of us have the same length. The color of the anorak is changing though. So if you're a young girl, it's pink, and then it gets red once you're around the graduation age, and then it depends on if you're a widow. It might be dark red or blue. This is our West Greenlandic national costume, so it will be different in far north where Aleqatsiaq is from, and it's different in the East Coast. And yeah, we have different, so you can tell where the person is from, the West Coast or far north, because it's so isolated. You could tell by the language and the national costume where the person is from. And you can see a lot of different colors behind me. Back in the days, we were living in turf huts. So not that long ago, in the 50s, we were modernized. So the Danes, we are part of Denmark. We were colonized by Denmark. So they came and they started to modernize Greenland in the 50s. So they're building houses. So we moved from turf huts where we would stay around 20 family members in one little turf hut to keep the heat and the coziness. They will split the family up and give an apartment or a house for one family, mom, dad, and kids. And most of the houses would be red in the beginning, and then it depends on what the family was working within. Like the school will be red, and the school teachers will have red houses. Supermarket is blue. Most of the supermarkets in Greenland will be blue or red today. Then depends on where you're working, it will have that color of the house. And then when they start spreading out the areas, they will still keep the color, but it was allowed to be building further out. And this is now today, it doesn't matter. You just don't want the neighbor's color.
Nice one. And great to highlight Inuit fashion. And for those who don't know, there's a shared heritage between the Inuit between Alaska and Canada and Greenland. And there's a fantastic show that just started. It features Inuit from northern Canada. It's called North of North. You can watch it on iTunes or CBC if you're based in Canada. And I've been watching it with my wife. And the thing that impresses her most is how cool Inuit fashion is, the costume design and everything, which is completely authentic and something you would see in ordinary life up there. It's just so amazing and incredible. So it's one of the things that people don't often appreciate when traveling to Greenland and Canada is how stunning the fashion is. Good. Well, let's leverage your great destination insights and do a little tour around Greenland. There are so many different regions to highlight, starting in the northeast, which is actually technically uninhabited except for some science and military bases. This is the national park. This is the largest national park in the world, which some of our voyages on Spitsbergen and Fram get to visit. Then we have the East Coast. There's two major communities on the East Coast. One of which is Inuit, which is kind of in the northeast corner of that segment there. Fascinating place, which we'll talk a little bit more about. You've got South Greenland, which Lali mentioned, the capital region on West Greenland, which is where Lali's from, has a lot to offer. Then as you move up the coast, you have a region called Disco Bay, which is where Ilulissat is. It's home of the fastest moving ice fjord in the world. It's the major outlet for all the big icebergs that are seen around the Western Atlantic. It's rumored that this was where the iceberg came from that was involved with a ship called the Titanic, which we won't talk in too much detail. A little known fact about Disco Bay is that this is also one of the most amazing places for whale watching, just something I always remember. And finally, Northwest Greenland, where Aleqatsiaq is from. This is super remote. And also, you were talking about dog sledding earlier, Lali. In addition to dog sledding and kayaking are still very much part of life in Qaanaaq. They still use these traditional techniques to go out and for transportation in the winter with the dogs and in summer with the kayaks for both transportation and hunting, which is super fascinating. But Lali, I know that Disco Bay and Ilulissat is very close to your heart. I think you've worked there 11 or more summers in a row.
16 summers.
16 summers, there you go.
Yeah.
So what stands out to you? What are your favorite parts about sharing Disco Bay with people?
I am born and raised in Nuuk, and I've traveled many places in the world, but Ilulissat is where my heart belongs. This is what I always say, because it's so beautiful. In August, you get these really colorful sunsets because the sun is, the midnight sun is there from end of May till end of July. And then from August, it starts setting and it creates these beautiful, beautiful sunset colors. It has what you need in a town. And still it has a huge backcountry with beautiful nature, the huge icebergs. You can walk like 10 minutes away from the town, and you feel you're totally away from everything and that you're all by yourself in the world. Beautiful scenery, always changing. I have millions pictures of icebergs. The most of the houses will face down towards the sea, and almost everyone has a sea view. So it's just beautiful. And we have whales during the summer. And this picture is from a lodge called Ilimanat. It's our new pre-product. So you could actually go there and spend some nights in these huts having the beautiful scenery. And this area is really known for like a good place for whale watching. And it's a small community with 40 inhabitants. So you get to feel what it's like to stay and live like a small community life. They have a school here, but not that long ago, they actually used the church as a school in the weekdays. So it's really small. So you get to really feel the Greenlandic lifestyle. It's not that far away from Ilulissat, which is the place where the UNESCO World Heritage Site, the ice fjord, the second most productive glacier in the Northern Hemisphere. So they're huge icebergs. They float like 1,000 meters. There's 1,000 meters deep fjord. So they float. And then once they hit the bank close to Ilulissat, they get stuck. And then you're able to sail among the icebergs and really feel how big these creatures is, like huge icebergs, and you're right next to them. It's amazing. And the people are really nice. There's only 5,000 inhabitants, mostly fishermen. So the harbor is always filled with boats, and the lifestyle is really calm, not as in Nuuk. So it's still a town. It's the third biggest town in Nuuk, in Greenland. So Nuuk, Sisimiut, and then Ilulissat comes. And I just love this place. So I go there. I prefer to go there every summer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great that we've been able to build that into our voyage experience. As you're saying, people can fly in a few days early and go to this lodge. I will say, I don't know if hut is the best description. Hut gives it quite a rustic feel. These are brand new, I don't know, cabins is the best way.
Yeah, cabin maybe might be a better description.
Yeah, like 2-story cabins with these fantastic decks and really nice amenities. Then you're just looking out. I mean, this is just such a stunning shot. So thanks for sharing that with us, Lali. And why don't we go to the other side of the country and to a place that's close to many of us, which is Aleqatsiaq. It's one of the smallest communities in Greenland, so 350 inhabitants. And Lawrence, you lived there at one point, and it's very close to your heart. So what was that experience like?
Well, funny enough, I didn't intend to move there, but as it often happens, especially during winter time in Greenland, the weather can be quite troublesome. So travel delays are part of the everyday life. And I was only supposed to be there for 7 days. I ended up spending almost 5 months in northeast Greenland, in Iqtoqottomiut or Iqtoqottomiit, as the locals say it. It's quite hard to pronounce, but if you want to show off to your friends, it's easy if you think about eat and then a duck and then meat. So eat duck meat, and if you say it fast, it sounds like Iqtoqottomiit. And so life there is completely different than the one that I experienced over on the West Coast. So taking a dog sled is part of the everyday life of hunters up there. You can see the younger version of myself. But on the next pictures, I think you get a bit better impression up there. Hunting is sort of one of the key frames of the everyday life, and living in one with nature. So taking the dogs out onto the sea ice, testing the sea ice continuously, sitting, standing there in the cold for hours, waiting for an animal to pass by without moving an inch is something that I think most of us cannot really relate to. But also what struck me the most during the year that I was there was so much snow. And that I think is quite clearly seen on the picture on the top right corner. But you have to imagine it's a community up there that gets supplies only twice a year. And so if you miss ordering sort of your Amazon package, it's going to be a long wait, and you have to be really, really patient. And that is also what the locals are. They're not only patient, but they are also living and helping each other in those times. So if you forgot to order something special, but your neighbor has it, they are often willing to share it straight away. And so that communal feeling is something so precious and so valuable that I think I was quite fortunate that I was able to experience that in my younger years. So that's just 11 years ago now. Gosh, that makes me feel old. But yes,
Right.
I mean, I think the pictures themselves speak for the adventure and experience that is quite unique to the north of Greenland. But not only there, I think Aleqatsiaq has a similar life currently up in Qaanaaq, also very isolated from other communities and really hard to get to in the winter. That's why we travel there in the summertime when the sea ice breaks up in the late summer. All of those places become for a very short period of time, a fraction of the year, accessible, and you can admire those adventures without having the hassle of waiting months or getting stuck there for 5 months.
Yeah, and we'll go to Aleqatsiaq in a second for him to tell some stories from Northwest Greenland to round us out here. But I will just mention, for me personally, I was able to spend some time in Aleqatsiaq last spring through a project that's supported by the HX Foundation, which is through an organization called Oxen. You can see down there. And we went, it's actually an Inuit-led organization. I'm one of 3 members of the leadership team there. And we were invited by the council to work with the community on their tourism development strategies. And one of the coolest parts was working with the school. There's 70 students at the school. And in the top left there, part of their choice of how they wanted to engage with tourism was they designed these baseball hats. And these are designed by some of the students, and 100% of the proceeds of the sale of these hats, which are probably one of the more coveted items, I think, especially amongst visitors who are able to purchase them. It's super inspiring to be able to engage the kids in tourism and showing people around and welcoming people to their community and kind of showcasing, how they want to be represented through designs like this and many other initiatives. But and another great piece of effort that HX goes to in supporting projects like this and many others around Greenland. But Aleqatsiaq, we'll come back to you. Northwest Greenland is a fascinating place, and perhaps you can share some insights from up there.
Yeah, hi. I come from called Inuit, that means far away. And South Greenlandic people call our place for Inuit far away people, Inuit mute. And our people called Inuit live in the northernmost part of Greenland, and their hunting area stretched from Millville Bay up to about Cass Fjord in Narre Strait, and up to Ellesmere Island, all the way about to Crazy Fjord, and they travel by dog sled through the winter in those places. The main source of income is hunting and fishing, and during the summer we would be hunting for narwhals, and we can sell the skin called mattik to all people in Greenland, and we hunt till the quota for narwhals is used up. And during the summer, during the winter, we fish with the long line for the halibut with many hooks to make money, and think about fishing in minus 25 Celsius. It's very cold. And our people still prefer to hunt like our ancestors with kayak and the dog sled. Even we have access to snowmobiles and motorboat. And the people are happy to have cruise ships since it's difficult to make money around here. But they are very protective about their base around this country, because narwhal give birth and eat in the base around here. We live by the nature with the animals in it. And when we travel and hunting, we don't use the time too much or the clock too much. We follow the nature and the nature's rules. And we can't rule the nature, so we follow the nature's rhythm. And we don't live above the animals, but we live with them in their land and environment. The culture is our culture is so new to this place that my grandmother used to say that she make oil from marine animals' fat to heat up the house. And for the light, she used to tell me that she was amazed that she can just switch the light on just like that, and there would be light, and turn a knob to heat up the house. And she always was amazed about that. The nature you're going to see is beautiful and amazing, but can be hard and difficult to live in. The winter can be cold up to minus 30, about up to 40, minus 40. The dogs still are necessary to our people. Without our partners, living in the Arctic would have been very hard and difficult. So we still prefer to use animal skins and modern clothes in the winter. We prefer animal skins than modern clothes in the winter, since the animals are perfectly adapted to the Arctic and the environment. The people in Inuit are humble people who love to laugh and have fun, and it's very necessary to be positive where life is harsh and impossible. Negativity can hold you down and sad, and it can affect your abilities and even have a bad influence on your family and people around you. Our ancestors moved to places during the spring to where they are going to be during the summer, and they had to hunt enough in the summer to make it in the winter by stashing meat under the rocks, make fermented food and dried meat. And the explorers from all over the world learned how to travel in the Arctic from our people, Inuit, like Knud Rasmussen had help from our people from here, and Robert Peary would never have maybe achieved something without our people, and they help explorers to journey to their destinations, even South Pole. Even South Pole was achieved by people who learned how to travel by dog sled in the Arctic from our people. If you have read the books about the people of the North or read about explorers in the Arctic, you will have the chance to experience it on this cruise to see what the explorers have seen and feel when they come to the far north in their ships. We can really see the 4 seasons around here. In the winter, we live in the dark, in the silence, and we're very cold. And the sea will be frozen and looks like there's no animals at all. In the springtime, we still have ice, but on the land, the snow will be melted and the birds starts to come. And we will have sunlight 24/7. And on the ice edge, it will be loud with birds and sea animals. While the ship is here in the summer, the sea ice will be gone and the birds will be busy hunting for their nestlings, and our people will be traveling by the sea, by boat, and hunt while they can to prepare for the cold winter to come. And in the autumn, the silence starts to come when the bird starts to leave us, and the colors will become strong when the sun is preparing to leave for the winter. And the new ice start to shape the sea, and the land starts to freeze, and our rivers becomes quiet when they start to become ice. So remember, when you travel into the north, the nature rules, and you have to learn to be patient because we cannot do everything by the clock, by the time. So relax and enjoy the nature. On this cruise, you will see the past, the future living in the present, and travel where the sun don't set and the stars don't show in the night, and the moon will be barely visible until the autumn, where you would see the strong colors in the stars. And the stars, sorry. Back to you.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Aleqatsiaq. And a perfect way to end. I'll tell the audience that I challenged our panelists. I said, tell as many stories as you want. And they said, okay, we'll go for it. And so we've used up a lot of time here, but I'm seeing all the emotions, the heart emojis and thumbs up, claps. So everyone just loving your input. So that's been fantastic. And I hope this gives you a sense of what you can experience with HX. It gives you a sense of how integrated we are. And should you choose to travel with us, there's some fantastic promotions available to further inspire you, as if these stories weren't enough. There's some incentives available for those of you who are part of our loyalty program, also those who might want to travel on their own, and you can rest assured that you'll have a price guarantee that's the best in the industry. So without further ado, if we do have some time for questions, I'll pass over to Jesse, and would love to hear from the audience if we're able to squeeze that in. And again, a big thank you to all of our panelists. It's been fantastic hearing from you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jesse. I'm one of the customer service representatives out of our Tallinn, Estonia office. And I'm going to play cleanup on the questions front. We'll try to cover not necessarily specific questions, but the topics and themes that we could use a little more clarification on. So to start off with, when it comes to Greenland, we have 2 distinct itinerary types. We have a west coast and an east coast. For those who are interested in the icebergs and amazing ice scapes, interested specifically in the ice, which coast would you recommend sailing on? Anyone can answer.
Lali, over to you.
Yeah, I was waiting if you're gonna ask anyone like specific. So for icebergs, I would choose the one going to the Disco Bay, or even all the way up to Aleqatsiaq's town, Qaanaaq, This is where you get to see the biggest icebergs, the Titanic icebergs. And you get to also see some wildlife as well as visiting different towns and villages.
All right, excellent. I would have suggested the same thing, but I've been there, so I'm Lulu said it was really cool. So
Which means icebergs.
yes, all the ice, it's like all the icebergs were there. Like they decided, hey, let's have a meeting. We're going there. Alec, I've got a question for you since you're so far north. Even though it's summer, it's still going to be pretty cold for the itineraries that are reaching all the way up there. What kind of cold is it? Is it a cold is it a wet, miserable cold, or is it more of a dry cold?
It won't be that cold, like very cold, because we have a very dry climate around here. It's not like wet cold. It's to be in another country in the cold is very cold for me. Around here is very mild because of the dry climate.
Yeah, very low humidity. All right.
Yeah.
So only -20. No, I'm kidding.
So even with the colder temperatures, as I understand it, mosquitoes can still be a problem. Do you have any recommendations for that?
Yeah, we will have mosquitoes, but not in autumn, but
Okay.
they
Or
during
midsummer.
the summer, July, and in the beginning of August. That's most of
Okay.
it.
Would you recommend a mosquito head net?
We don't have that much mosquitoes around here, but maybe when you travel in the West Coast, like Inuit said. So we'll need those, yeah.
Okay. And so we did cover a little bit on animals, flora and fauna, but would anyone care to expand on the highlights of what wildlife will be trying to spot on land and sea, as well as any highlights for plant life during the summer in Greenland? Lawrence, you look like you want to say something.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, so it completely also varies on which expedition you're going. So if you're going up to northeast or to northwest Greenland, it is more likely that we come across a polar bear and also musk ox, where on the west coast, further south, polar bears are not as endemic, but you can also come across a polar bear there. And I did so just in my last field season, camping out in Greenland and then being woken up by a polar bear knocking on the tent, which was an unpleasant surprise, although this won't happen once you're in a cabin of an Hurtigruten expedition ship, luckily. But we'll be watching out for whales. Greenland has a fascinating variety of birds that will be flying around. We will also, of course, step foot on land, and there, especially during the summer months and in spring, you will see Inuit, which is Arctic fireweed bloom, and that's also the national flower of Greenland. And it's a really, really pretty flower. And actually, the botany of Greenland is often undervalued, but it's the small highlights that you then spend, the small details that you spend a lot of time with, whilst your guides are looking out whether there are some big white fluffy animals crossing your paths. But of course, I mean, you'll see sled dogs on any of the journeys that bring you north of the Arctic Circle as well.
All right, excellent. So moving on from what we can see. Oh, go ahead, Alec.
And there's also a chance to see walruses up north if you're coming up north around here.
All right,
And
excellent.
we shouldn't forget the reindeers in the south, and as well Arctic foxes. And my favorite animal in Greenland are the Arctic hares, the little snow bunnies, and they're very cute. In East Greenland, they are not really being hunted, so they become more dormant and more attractive to humans. So if you like Arctic snow hares, go to Northeast Greenland, because they probably love you as much as we do love them.
All right. So we've talked about everything we can see, plants, animals, ice, sunsets and sunrises that blend into each other. How about what we can eat? What sort of foods would Greenlanders consider traditional, and what could our guests look forward to being able to try while they're there?
We have tastings on some of the voyages where the guests be able to taste reindeer and muskox. We are having dry fish and shrimps, and that's most of the voyages will have that in the package. But I know that some guests actually ask for if they can go to a restaurant, or some people buy their own at the meat market as well.
Okay. How about seal? Is there an opportunity
Seal, you can, it's really strong taste, and the meat is really dark, so it varies from time to time what the tastings are of. So sometimes seal, mostly it will be dried fish, which is more likely tasteful for the guests.
Yeah.
I have also seen people here with dried narwhal meat and skin, matic, that they offer around here. And
is there a jerky shop in Nook we can take a little bit of everything home at? Dried narwhal, interesting.
Yeah, my favorite meat, Jesse, is muskox. It's kind of like buffalo and like tenderloin. It's like a really delicious red meat.
I never even considered that. I remember my first landing in the first place I went was in Qaanaaq, and I went to the fish market and was just thinking, this fish doesn't look like fish. And then I actually saw them preparing it, and yeah, that was not a fish. I was looking at. It was definitely seal. It was eye-opening. It was a cultural shock for me for just a moment there. So
I don't know if you have heard about Mike Keane, who traveled by kayak up to the north around here from South Greenland. When he was here for the first time, he made lasagna with seal meat. The meat is so strong that while he was sitting just on the chair, he fell asleep immediately. That's how strong the meat is. And very good lasagna also.
Okay, so we are running out of time here. I've got I think just two more questions I want to ask. One, what languages will our passengers be exposed to while they're in Greenland?
So we speak Greenlandic, which is really similar for the Inuit in Canada, because we all come from the same culture. The people in Greenland today is people that was coming all the way from Siberia through Alaska, Canada to Greenland. So we have a really similar language, and it's the same with the culture as well. So a lot of things, the drum dancing, the mask dance. There's a lot of different things that are similar, like hunting as well. We do learn Danish in school because we're part of Denmark. And then we learn English. Some of the school starts in first grade, which is new. When I went to school, we had English in 7th grade, which is really late. So I'm really happy that they're learning English from first grade already. And because of the internet, YouTube, small kids already speak English. So it's really nice. Yeah.
Okay. So they can expect to encounter a little bit of everything, but they shouldn't have any trouble using just English in, say, Nuuk or Ilulissat, Sisimiut, the larger towns.
Yeah, if the elder people doesn't understand you, just find a kid.
Just grab one of the kids running past.
They will try.
Our people are also very good with signs,
Yes.
hand sign, and all that.
Okay. All right. Okay, I have one more question, and that's going to end it for the Q&A. I wish we had more time, but it is a good question. For guests who are coming on either coast, because I know on the East Coast, you've got Itak or Tuamut, and plenty of communities up and down the West Coast. Is there anything our guests could bring to donate to any of these communities that they may be in need of? I know we have our own foundation program where we're also putting in our efforts towards this, but is there any way that our guests can personally contribute by bringing something of very useful for the communities?
I know that in East Greenland, we had several guests who donated some for the kids in school. So they gave pencils and different things for the school, which was really appreciated. I think if we always aim for something for the kids, it makes everyone happy.
So school supplies, maybe. What about like hats and gloves, things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great.
The best thing that people can do is just buy local. Find a local craftsperson. Find an item that is produced locally, and that's a really meaningful way to contribute by supporting in that manner.
Excellent. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up for the Q&A. I'll hand it back over to you, Alex.
Oh, thanks, Jesse. This has been fantastic. Again, special thank you to Aleqatsiaq in particular, and Lali and Lawrence for sharing your wisdom. And for those of you who stuck around for this hour and 15 minutes, some incredible stories. And I hope you've been inspired to consider Greenland as a future destination, and it'd be our pleasure to welcome you there.
All right. Well, thanks to everyone who joined us today and to our panelists. This was terrific. So with that, we will wish you all a great day and conclude our presentation. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Tekus.